everyone, and welcome to a new episode. That's right, it's the return of Cruel Summer here at postwrestling.com. Our look back at the finals of each and every G1 Climax tournament. And maybe people thought, WH, you said you finished this last year with the review of Tanahashi versus Ibushi from 2018. But if you go back and listen to that episode that I did with John Pollock, I said that we might bring this back covering the 2019 G1 Climax finals. And here we are, we're covering it, and I'm back. And I'm joined today by a first-time guest, for me at least, on any of the shows that I've done. And I'm really excited to be talking with Stephanie Chase, who is a UK-based wrestling journalist who covers professional wrestling for outlets like Digital Spy and Sports Key to Wrestling, as well as doing like tons of interviews with people in the professional wrestling business on her YouTube channel, Stephanie Chase Wrestling Interviews. And Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, WH. Mark, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
So I'm familiar with you through, like, you did an appearance with my good friends, Brayden Harrington and Davey Portman on one of their shows. And then, I checked you on Twitter, and I'm like, oh wow, she does a lot of writing for actual media outlets for covering wrestling, and then oh wow, she does interviews, and you've got tons of interviews on your YouTube channel. But and there's a video there where it talks about like the origins of your fandom into professional wrestling and as a whole through the WWF, WWE. So people want to know more about that. I do want to direct them towards your YouTube channel and find that video. But for the purposes of today's episode about the G1 Climax finals from last year, I want to know about the origins of your fandom to New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Cool. Well, it started really because I am Irish and I found out about Prince Devitt. So I started watching some of his matches just to see like this Irish guy that was working in Japan. I thought that was really cool. And that was just around the time that he formed Bullet Club. So I was pretty into it, like at that point, just really watching like all of his stuff. And then he left for WWE, and we all know how that worked out. And then I kind of like fell off watching it until Chris Jericho decided to come in for Wrestle Kingdom 12.
Against Kenny Omega.
Yeah. And because I'm a really big Jericho fan, I was like, I have to watch this live. And when I was kind of preparing to watch it, I listened to a lot of preview podcasts and stuff. I probably listened to you and John talk about it and kind of like learned what was going on at the time. And then I learned about this new guy that was coming back called Jay White. And I thought, he sounds interesting. And then I watched Wrestle Kingdom 12 and I saw his match. Well, I was watching it for Jericho, but then I saw Jay's match with Tanahashi and I was like, I think I may have found my new favorite wrestler here.
Well, that's good to know that you're a huge Jay White fan, because we're going to be talking about one Mr. Jay White. And how about Kota Ibushi? Where would you rank Kota Ibushi in your fandom?
I love Kota a lot. I think he's tremendous. I think he's like the most lovely, like unicorn type magical figure of wrestling. And I really, really enjoyed the storyline that he did with Kenny in New Japan. But then I really enjoyed this kind of solo period of Kota actually a lot more, I think. Him kind of going out on his own. So yeah, I would rank Kota definitely in my top 5 New Japan wrestlers.
So when this match gets kind of decided, like by like Kota Ibushi wins the A block and Jay White wins the B block, and you realize, oh my God, 2 of my favorite wrestlers are going to be in the finals of the G1 Climax. Like, what were you thinking about in terms of like anticipation? Like, who were you rooting for to win the match, and like what kind of expectations did you have from the match itself?
Well, firstly, this is the final that I wanted so much. Like when the blocks were announced, I was hoping it would be Jay and Kota in the final. That's all I wanted. So when it worked out like that, I was absolutely ecstatic. But the reason I wanted them to meet was I thought they were going to be such a good opposite, like their characters, because I see Kota as such a good baby face, the way he works, and every time I watch Kota, I just feel like such emotion for him and sympathy for him. And then I see Jay as just the best heel. So I thought they were going to be really good facing off against each other. So I was really excited for this match just to see what they could do. And it was absolutely like what I wanted. I think it's the only prediction I got right in the whole tournament, that these two would be in the final.
Well, this was a final that I was hoping wouldn't happen, because as much as you are a fan of the Switchblade, Jay White, I am probably as equally not a fan of the character, the wrestling personality that is the Switchblade. That being said, like I really liked Jay White when he was a young lion in the dojo with like Sho Tanaka and Yohei Komatsu and of course David Finlay. Like I thought this guy's got a lot. I thought he was the best of the he's one of the best young lions. It was him and like Sho Tanaka that I thought these guys got something just a little bit more. That's nothing against David Finlay, who I'm a huge fan of, and Yohei Komatsu, Yo in Roppongi 3K, that like I like him a lot too. But I just thought these two just had the little certain je ne sais quoi, as the French would say, a little bit more than the other two. And so like when he did his excursion going to America, particularly in Ring of Honor, I thought, wow, he's doing really well there, because I think of Jay White as a really, prototypical great baby face, like especially like, he does kind of have like a baby face, like just his physical features and the way he wrestled and just the kind of like the fire he had. So when they started doing the vignettes for this new character called the Switchblade, people were saying, oh, maybe it's Jay White. And I would think, why would it be Jay White? That makes no sense. There's nothing that I've ever seen in Jay White's work in promos or anything like that would indicate that he's like some kind of serial killer or some, the other term that's, was popularly bandied about, a knife pervert. Like, okay, I thought it might have been someone like, Sammy Callahan, like that kind of a type of wrestler. But so when it's revealed that it's Jay White, I was like, okay, I'll give this a chance, because I did like Jay White. And then, I don't know, from the moment he came out in the Tokyo Dome as the Switchblade to even till this day, Stephanie, I have not enjoyed this character. Like, I think maybe there's like one or two matches of his that I actually have enjoyed and rated more than, I don't know, like say 3 stars. For me, like people ask me, why do you dislike Jay White so much? And I'm like, it's not Jay White I don't like, it's Switchblade. Like, I just feel, for me, like I understand the appeal to other people, including yourself, but for me, it's like this kind of like square peg being like trying to hammered into this round hole that is New Japan Pro Wrestling and Japanese wrestling as a whole.
That's interesting. It's an interesting thought, because firstly, like I think that he's a total heel, that he should be a heel. Because I've like looked back at his older work as well, and I know what he was like in Ring of Honor. But I saw some early promos and stuff he did, especially when he was over here in the UK. And it was a lot more like the kind of cocky Switchblade character that he's doing now. And I think there's something about, he does have such a baby face, like literally. And now, of course, he's trying to hide it with the beard. But for me, like the way that he looks physically and the contrast to the character totally worked. So I just can't, I'm at the point where I can't imagine him as a babyface. And one of the things I like about him is I think he's a fantastic promo. I think he's one of the best promos just in wrestling generally. So I'm always scared that they're going to turn him face or something, because I kind of don't want to see that happen.
Right. I mean, with his promos, like, I see where you're coming from. But for me, like, whenever I watch his interviews or promos, I'm like, why are you screaming so much? Dude, just shut the fuck up. Okay, just say what you need to say. Just stop screaming. And I know it's his character. Like, to some degree, I guess I buy into it as a fan. Like, that he's supposed to be annoying me, but like he legit annoys me, like with his promo style. And I think part of the other thing that about his work is like I feel it's designed to follow a formula. Like a lot of his matches follow a formula where, okay, at some point, usually Red Shoes Unno is going to take a bump. You're gonna get
Mhm.
Geto interfering in the match, and this is a problem I see like generally with Geto now is like he has to be a star in in the matches of the people he manages, include like with Jay White, and then like a little bit with Evil in his quest to become the IWGP champion in the New Japan Cup. In the later stages of that, and I just like okay, and then I think we'll talk a little bit about Evil during the course of this review, but that's my feeling. I get like I'm not one of these people that thinks I don't understand why anybody likes this guy or any other wrestler that I don't like. I understand like 99% of the time if there's a wrestler I don't like, I understand why other people do like that person. It's not just like if I'm right, everyone's wrong. It's wrestling, of course, is like a matter of opinion, but my opinion is like, this guy annoys me. I don't like the way his matches go. But it's good that you're on because I don't want this to be like, just a shit upon Jay White, like, podcast, an hour that if I had like Joe Lemon from the Grapple Spotlight, maybe it would have been like that. And he and I would have had a lot of fun. But I want to have a lot of fun talking about like your point of view about the participants in this match and my point of view about the participants of this match. So, with that being said, Stephanie, let's get into some background information about the 29th edition of the G1 Climax. It started on July 6th in Dallas, Texas, the first time the G1 has taken place outside of Japan, and it ran until August 12th, 2019, which, of course, the last 3 nights of this tournament were at the Budokan Hall, and I was fortunate enough to be at the Budokan the previous year in 2018 for the last 3 nights of that tournament. Unfortunately, well, maybe not unfortunately, I was back in Toronto, Stephanie, during this time period, and like this time in August last year, hanging out with like John and Wei, Braden and Davey, and a bunch of other people, including also people in my personal life. So I had a really nice vacation back in Toronto. So I couldn't watch these like live on New Japan World or go to any of these shows live in person. But it's okay. I woke up early to watch my nightmare come true of Jay White going into the finals when he defeated Tetsuya Naito. But so in this tournament, there's 20 wrestlers in 2 blocks, A block and B block. Of course, we had some debuts, first time wrestlers appearing in the G1. We had Jeff Cobb, Jon Moxley, Taichi, Kenta, Shingo Takagi, and Will Ospreay. And of those names, Stephanie, which names excited you the most about the debuts?
Oh, firstly, Moxley for sure, because I was a real Dean Ambrose hater, to be honest, when he was in WWE. And then when he started working in New Japan, I was like, okay, wow, maybe this guy was actually being held back and is really great. So then when he was signed up for the G1, I thought like this is his chance to properly prove himself, because I think there's no better way to prove yourself than to do a G1. So I was really excited to see Moxley.
Yeah, for me, like Moxley is definitely, someone who I was like very, very intrigued by entering the G1. He had, of course, like done some matches before with New Japan, and just like kind of he showed us a really different side of himself. But like for me, like I think the name that excited me the most was Shingo Takagi, because like I'm a long time fan of this guy from his days in Dragon Gate, and then when he debuted in the company, and I thought, oh my god, this guy is going to have awesome matches with everyone in his block, and he did. I think like he was one of the most consistent performers in this thing. We had a return, Stephanie, of Lance Archer. He returned to being in the G1 after like a 5-year absence. The last time he was in this was in 2014. So he had kind of reinvented himself at this point, and kind of really got himself over to the point where like, okay, we're going to put you in the G1 this year, which I thought was a really great story going into the G1.
Yeah, I think that Archer is one of the people that kind of benefited the most from this G1 just in general. I'm not sure that he'd be in AEW now if it wasn't for this G1, because he really showed himself what he could do, like anyone that might have written him off. And especially that opening match he had with Ospreay was like one of the most unforgettable G1 matches I've ever seen. It might have just been because I was watching it at work in an office, and I was so enthralled and like excited by it that I was just at my desk making all these really weird facial expressions that people were wondering what was wrong with me. And I had to say, like, there's just this incredible match going on, and then I had to go outside when it ended to calm down. But Archer definitely, he had a really, really good G1.
He did indeed. So let's talk a bit about, like, New Japan's decision to run this event, the first night of it in Dallas, Texas. When you heard that, what was your initial reaction, and what did you think about the finished product after watching that show?
My initial reaction was I thought it was a really cool idea, mostly, but then I also do like New Japan to kind of keep traditions, so I always worry when they do something new. But I think bringing it to America definitely put more eyes on it, which is always good. I'm not sure that the show was pretty good. I just feel like it wasn't, maybe, I don't know, maybe the crowd or something just weren't as great as I thought they would be. But they definitely put on some really good matches for the American crowd. I just kind of wish that they'd done, and I know that they couldn't, but if they'd done just 2 nights, I think that would have been better. But I guess they couldn't because of Moxley.
Well, I think also that they were in a bit of a smaller venue because, they had a good attendance for that. But, with the American Airlines Center being so big, it's like it doesn't look good when you have the camera pans around. You see all these empty seats.
Yeah.
And I just thought if they had it in a bit of a smaller venue, it would have looked more full, and I think the noise would have been better. But that is what it is. Let's talk a bit about Jay White, his 2019. So he was on a roll, really. Like he had won the IWGP heavyweight title from Hiroshi Tanahashi, and then he headlined the Madison Square Garden show during WrestleMania weekend, and where he lost the title to Kazuchika Okada. And then he was kind of coming into this trying to, I guess, at this point in his career, like the story for him was like kind of trying to regain momentum and kind of regain his place at the top spot in the company.
Yeah, his year started off so amazing with Wrestle Kingdom, and then winning the title, which for me was just one of the best moments in wrestling history. And then I was there in Madison Square Garden when he lost the title, which was just like I totally expected that to happen. And I was in Madison Square Garden surrounded by a lot of Jay White haters who were like I was surrounded by, because it was a Ring of Honor co-promoted show, I was just surrounded by like Ring of Honor dude type guys, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I'm sorry to hear you had to endure that. I've had to endure that many times in my fandom in Toronto at Ring of Honor shows in Toronto.
Yeah, I was there in my Jay White t-shirt, and I was like cheering for him, and these guys were like shouting like Jay White sucks, or shit Kenny. They kept shouting shit Kenny. And then because I was cheering for him, I noticed like they were all kind of just looking at me and talking amongst themselves. So I was kind of like, what? And so one of them was like, are you Jay White's girlfriend? I said no. And then they were like, oh, right, we're just wondering why you would be cheering for him. And I was like, well, just a fan. And then when Okada won, which is what I thought was going to happen, I got up and cheered. And one of the guys turned around and was like, what kind of Jay White fan are you? And I just said, a realistic one. Because I didn't think for a second they were going to end that MSG show without Okada winning. But then, yeah, he seemed to get into a bit of a slump after that. And then he had a feud with my least favorite New Japan wrestler, Goto, which almost put me off watching his matches during that period.
We're the complete opposite here, Stephanie. I'm a huge Hiroki Goto fan. but that's cool. And I gotta say, like, you talk about this experience you had at Madison Square Garden, and to me, like, I hear this story, and like I completely understand why like women like applaud having a women's only section at wrestling shows. It's like on behalf of my gender, I am sorry you have to deal with like some really idiotic male wrestling fans.
Yeah, and it's funny because like they were also the kind of fans who really knew nothing about New Japan at all. They were just there for the Ring of Honor stuff, and they were still in their old like elite Bullet Club merch. just thinking that like, Marty Skull's the best wrestler on the planet. And then when all the, New Japan matches happened, they just really had no interest whatsoever. They were the kind of guys that thought the Enzo stuff was great.
Well, I mean, like, let's get back to a point you made where like these fans are chanting at Jay like shit Kenny, like, and so like later on like Kenny Omega would like reveal in an interview like that the original plan for this show was like for him to beat Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom, continue on being the IWGP champion, and then he would face Okada in the main event of the show, where he would drop the title to Okada. So like then the talk becomes about Jay White, that he's kind of like the placeholder for Kenny, and like he's kind of like the transition champ from Tanahashi to Okada. And I thought if that was the case, I thought personally, like, New Japan should have just kept the belt on Tanahashi, because I don't think short title reigns. Like, I don't know how many. I think he had like one defense, right, since he won the title, and then before he lost it to Okada. I don't think this does anyone any good. And like, I would say the first time Naito won the title before this year, like that was a terrible mistake on their part as well. And I think they're probably going to do the same thing. As of this recording, I mean, this won't be broadcast until probably after the Jingu Stadium show, but I will say, like, as of this recording, that I think they're going to do the same thing to Evil. I don't think he's going to have that belt for very long. In fact, I do believe that Tetsuya Naito is probably going to regain that belt at the Jingu Stadium show. And at the end, it's like, what's the point of putting these belts on these guys if it's not to establish them at a certain level, like for the long term. And I don't know, like, just back to Jay White, like, what did you think when, like, this is, Kenny Omega says all these things? What was your perception of the booking of Jay White at that point?
When he won the title, my feeling was that, yeah, it was going to be a short reign and he was just going to be a transitional champion, which, like, I'm with you. I don't agree with the short reigns. I don't think it does anyone any good. So as much as I was happy for him to win the title, I thought, well, you're not going to keep it very long, are you really? So yeah, when Kenny made those comments, it would have made more sense just for Tanahashi not to have dropped the title. But I don't know. I think maybe Gato's obviously so high on Jay that I think he just saw an opening where you can give Jay the belt and then he'll always be a former champion. But it's not something that I would have done personally, like, at all.
No, I think it would have been nicer, I think, for Tanahashi to get that main event spot. That's just, that's the, the big Tanahashi fan that I am saying that. But let's get back to this tournament, Stephanie. Let's talk about the path to the final. So Kota Ibushi, he defeated in his block Lance Archer, Bad Luck Fale, Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., Sonata, and Hiroshi Tanahashi, and of course Kazuchika Okada in the A block finals. His losses were to both Evil and to Kenta. Jay White in B block defeated Jeff Cobb, Jon Moxley, Juice Robinson, Taichi, Shingo Takagi, and of course Tetsuya Naito in the B block finals. His losses came to Hiroki Goto, yay! Tomohiro Ishii, yay! And Toru Yano. I'm kind of agnostic about that result, but yeah, what did you think about each, like, Kota Ibushi's path to the A block finals and Jay White's path to the B block finals?
Well, Kota's path, he had a lot of great matches in it, and I think this was his first year, his first G1 actually being fully signed to New Japan, wasn't it?
Yes.
So I expected him to really shine in the G1 and him to be someone that was really going to take that block. So yeah, he had a lot of good matches and a lot of good wins. Jay's path, I love the story that they told where he lost all his initial matches and then won all the last matches. His first match with Goto, well, as I've said, I think Goto is the most boring man on the planet. the most boring wrestler on the planet, but that feud that they had, to me, like, Jay just emasculated Goto so much in his promos that when it came to their match at the G1, I just thought, like, Goto has to win this match or he's literally dead as a wrestler. Like, he's even less of a person to me than he was before. So when Goto won, that was fine. Then he had a really good match against Ishii. Then he had a Yano match against Yano. But once he started winning, he had some really good matches in there. Like, I really wanted to see him against Moxley, and I thought that was good as well.
Yeah, I do think, you know, for me, like, a lot of his matches, again, like, it follows the formula, like, of, you know, like, oh, he's got to do all this cheating. He's got to throw the guy into the barrier 17 fucking times, and Geto's got to get involved. He's got to, you know, tease hitting someone with the brass knucks and this and that. And I can't remember all the results of, like, what happens in each of these matches that he had on the way here. I didn't go back and watch all of his matches, or Kota Ibushi's for that matter. I did watch the block finals for each guy, though, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But like, this brings us, of course, to August 12th, 2019 in the Nippon Budokan Hall, and the attendance for this show was 9,641 people. And can I just tell you something, Steph, that this building, compared to Sumo Hall, is amazing. Like, the first thing I thought when I got into it in 2018 was, my God, the air conditioner is working. This place is not ungodly hot like Sumo Hall is.
It looks beautiful on TV as well.
Oh, it's just a really great building. My only complaint would be the hallways. They're very narrow. So when you're leaving, it takes a long time to get out of Budokan Hall. But Sumo Hall, like, I don't know if you ever listened to Japanese Audio Wrestling, the show I did with Chris Charlton. Like, I did two nights with, like, in that building with Chris Charlton, and he and I were both dying at the end. Like, and after the first night, like, I actually stayed with Chris at his home, and then we came back to Tokyo, and I was just like, I was dreading it. I was like, I know the matches are going to be really good, but my God, I don't want to be in this building anymore. And wouldn't you know it, the second night in Sumo Hall was even worse than the first night, because we actually sat higher up in the building, and we were pretty high up. We were up in the upper levels, but we were actually close to the roof on the second night, and I was dying. It was so bad up there. But Budokan Hall, beautiful, nice air conditioning, great sight lines. We had amazing seats, and I cannot complain at all about Budokan Hall. And I hope one of these days I get to go back and watch some wrestling back in there, Tiffany.
That's good to hear, because I would love to go to Budokan Hall. So it's nice to know that I will be feeling cool and spacious.
Well, I will tell you, if you come to Japan, like, if you're not a fan of the heat, and we were talking a bit before off air that you're not a real fan of the heat you're kind of experiencing in the United Kingdom right now, but, you know, spring, wonderful. The fall, great time. Especially if you're going to see a show at Sumo Hall, go in the fall. It's really comfortable in the fall. Go in the winter. It's really comfortable in there in the winter. But I do not recommend, like, coming here in the summer unless you really, really want to watch, like, the G1, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to, so Kota Ibushi defeated Kazuchika Okada. Jay White defeated Tetsuya Naito, and I ranked, you know, the Ibushi versus Okada match a bit higher than I did the White Naito one. The White Naito one I thought was kind of flat. Like, it wasn't that long, which is not a bad thing in itself, but I just thought, like, he kind of beat Naito pretty handily for the most part in the B Block finals. Yeah,
for me, you know, Jay going up against Naito, that was, like, my worry, because obviously everyone just wants Naito to win everything. And I really thought, like, this was the time that he was in danger. But I thought, their match was okay, but I didn't think that they gelled very well against each other. I don't think that they were that good an opponent for each other.
I think they're very, like, heel Naito, like, when he first introduced the Tranquilo character after coming back from Mexico, I think is very much the prototype for Jay White, like, Switchblade character.
Oh, well, maybe, but I don't know. There's just something about Naito that I can't really connect with, and I see, like, everyone else connecting with him, so I wonder what I'm missing. But I don't think I'd want to see those two in a prolonged feud anytime, really.
Well, if Jay White is able to get back into Japan, we're saying, again, at the time of this recording, he's not back in Japan. He might be, like, you know, come the end of August here, but
either way.
But like I think that's definitely like a program that New Japan will go to, is like, extended feud between Tetsuya Naito and Jay White, and maybe then like there's going to be excuse me, kind of maybe they'll do something that will make you a fan of that matchup. There's nothing they can do to make me a fan of that matchup. I can tell you that right here now. But I want to talk a bit about the undercard of the August 12th show before we get into the main event, Stephanie. And because there was a really major angle that happened on here, we had the kind of the double event of both Kenta turning heel on his partners in a 6-man tag against he turned heel on Tomohiro Ishii and Yoshihashi, and he joined the Bullet Club. And I hated this because I absolutely despise the Bullet Club. I just think it's a gimmick that's like run its course. I hate pretty much everyone in this group. And so like to see one of my favorite wrestlers of all time join this group was really disheartening for me. But to be fair, like I think turning heel and joining Bullet Club has done wonders for Kenta in the company. But the other major event, and maybe even more significant in the sense of the pop that this got, was that Katsuyori Shibata, he ran into the ring and took out was taking out his former friend, because Kenta and Shibata are great friends, and it was said that Shibata was the one who got Kenta into New Japan after he had left the WWE. He's the one who got Kenta into the G1, and now he's betrayed all of that. And then just to see Shibata doing stuff in the ring, I had two thoughts running in my mind concurrently. Was one, oh my God, he's wrestling again. And two was, oh my God, he's wrestling again. Please don't get hurt. Please don't do anything to jeopardize your health.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was the feeling. You want to see him again, but then you don't want him to do anything because you're so scared for him. But I thought this was one of the best wrestling angles of the year. I think I put this in like a top 10 list of angles of that year, like Kenta turning on Shibata and joining the Bullet Club. I think it was really well executed, and I think with the reception Kenta was kind of getting throughout the tournament, it was something that kind of needed to happen, and this new cool evil Kenta's been pretty good.
Oh, I think it's done wonders. I think, like he showed a lot of personality when he was a heel in the WWE and on 205 Live. I think he was one of the highlights actually of that show when he was there. Yeah. And so like for me, like I don't mind him being a heel, because like kind of when he was even in Noah, like he was kind of like this kind of heelish kind of character, like a very Minoru Suzuki type of character, right? So, and actually I think for me, if he was going to turn heel and join a faction, like I'd rather he joined Suzuki Gun, but that's just my preference anyway.
He would have been a good fit in Suzuki Gun, but I think it was good for Bullet Club to have that kind of more like big Japanese star in there. But would you be more of a Bullet Club fan if they just made Kenta leader?
No, I don't think I can see anything that the Bullet Club would ever do to like make me a fan of theirs. Like the only time I've liked anything that involved the Bullet Club was when the Tamatonga and Tangaloa turned on the Elite, because I might hate the Elite more than I hate the Bullet Club. But so like when King Haku comes out and he's joining his sons and beating the shit out of like Kenny, the Bucks, and Cody, like I was like, yes, because I love King Haku, and seeing him power drive all these guys was just like absolute pure joy to me. But yeah, I'm still the Bullet Club. It's done. It's like the NWO now at this point, right? It's like NWO Hollywood. It's just come on. Let's just and to be fair, Stephanie, like if you got rid of all the factions that we have right now and just kind of retooled them and just freshened all the allegiances up, I'd be so happy, because I think Chaos is stale. I think Suzuki Gun is stale. Like the regular army, the Hontai, that's kind of stale as it is. I want to kind of see like big shakeup, like you would see like in Dragon Gate or something like that, like of the units and the allegiances between different wrestlers.
I think of all the factions, though, I'd say, like, to me, Bullet Club are the least stale, because they do kind of just constantly regenerate with a new leader, which is what makes me still kind of like them, because I think every Bullet Club is different. And like going back to the shit Kenny comment, I mean, my answer to that is like he's not even trying to be Kenny, though. I think every time they kind of regenerate with a new leader. It's pretty different, but I don't know what's going on with their leadership at the minute, though. I'm kind of worried with the evil seemingly in charge.
Well, maybe when Jay White shows up, and he can form a new faction called the Knife Club or the Knife Perverts. Maybe that would be better.
The Knife Pervert Society or something.
Something like that, yeah. Or the My Chemical Romance cosplayers. They can do that as well.
Okay, that's the worst comment because I dispute him being emo so heavily. There's like nothing more offensive than calling Jay emo or anyone emo for that matter. Jay is not an emo.
Well, I base that comment purely on the vest he wears to the ring in this ring. Because if you see that, it's like, my God, that's the same vest that like Gerard Way wears in whatever fucking video that features that. I'm like, oh my God, and I put out a tweet that says, who wore it better? It pictures Jay White wearing that vest, and then Gerard Way wearing that vest in whatever music video. Sorry to all My Chemical Romance fans out there. I don't know any of their songs. I just know I've seen like that image of Gerard Way wearing a vest just like that. So it's not so much I think he's an emo. I don't think he's an emo. He's too loud to be an emo kind of person. But like, it's just that vest. Come on.
I have to say, when he came out in that vest, because I am like, I spent a lot of my teenage years being like the South Park goths that have to say we're not emo, we're goths, because once I was a teenager, I was a goth teenager, and then emo hit, and suddenly everyone thinks you're an emo, and I had to go around being like, I'm not an emo, I'm a goth. It's a totally different thing. So I just have this kind of like not great feelings towards emos and My Chemical Romance, but then when he came out in that jacket, I was like, oh no, like I can't kind of defend you anymore for not being an emo, because you're literally wearing a My Chemical Romance outfit. Like, why?
Well, maybe he'll have a new, pandemic style entrance gear when he comes back, Stephanie. We can only hope. I hope he doesn't, because I just like calling him My Chemical Switchblade on Twitter. But anyways, let's get into the match itself. So we get in this the night before, though. We have to talk about that Jay White injured Kota Ibushi's legs with a chop block and chair shots, along with help from Gedo in the match angle after Jay White beat Naito to make it to the finals. So this is kind of a story that will play on into their match together. The first thing we see is Jay White comes out, and he's bringing out with him the Bullet Club. All of them, Stephanie. All of them, including their new member, Kenta. And I wrote down, this is already terrible.
I wrote down, this would have been better if they all wore their tracksuits. Because, the matching tracksuits is a look. I loved it because I love Jay mouthing off to the camera when he's making his entrances. So I love that, him saying, that they had Kenta there and now he's going to win the G1. I thought that was great.
So this, of course, sets up the whole trope of Red Shoes Unno looking at all of them, putting his hands on his hips, and then just ejecting them from ringside. And I hate this shit too, because this is just more performative art from someone I consider to be one of the worst referees in the business today, and that's Red Shoes Unno. And of course, he kicks out everyone, but of course, Gedo is allowed to stay on the outside. Why not?
What did annoy me is it did feel completely pointless, considering they literally just walked out and were sent back. So nothing happened, and it felt like, okay, if they'd got kicked out like a couple of minutes into the match, at least it would have seemed like it had more point. But just like bringing them out just to do that spot of Red Shoes set in the back was pretty silly.
Well, and this kind of leads, goes back to like when AJ Styles was the leader of the Bullet Club, and he would do that with the Bullet Club when AJ was there. And of course, like during the time Kenny Omega was, in the Bullet Club, he would do that with Kenny's matches if they all came out. And it's just like, listen, this is so dumb. Like this is just not, like a cliche at this point. So I hate when they do this, but we start the match and immediately Jay White bails out to the outside, doing his best Larry Zbyszko impression, and and this is something like where I go back to the comment I made. This is like very much like Tetsuya Naito when he was like, you know, the original version of his Tranquilo character. Like he would bail out, he would stall starting the match, and it's something that Jay White has adopted as well. And it's just not something that I like. I understand why they do it to get heel heat, but like I just it just bothers me so much. Like as a fan in the wrong way, you know, Stephanie. Like I just hate when people stall in the matches, like, and it's something that he incorporates into pretty much 90% of all his matches.
Yeah, I personally, I can see why it's annoying because it is designed to be, but I find it funny every time he does it. Like challenging Kota to come outside, like I don't know, I just I just find it funny because he is someone that's always in character and always talking a lot to the camera. And that, for me, makes things more enjoyable. But this match, like when it started, the crowd were so into Kota. Like the heat Jay was getting was pretty amazing. It made it feel like such a big match because the crowd were kind of given that minute to really cheer for Kota and make Jay just look like the most hated man in all of Japan.
So as the match, you know, finally kind of gets started, like, so White and Geto immediately try to go after the leg they injured the day before. And Red Shoes sees this, and now he kicks out Geto. And I'm just like, now, like, not even 10 minutes in, Stephanie, and I'm like thinking, this is so fucking stupid. I hate this match already.
He is the worst referee, Red Shoes. Everything that happens to him as well. I just can't imagine that this is this guy's job, and it's broadcast on television, the abuse he gets at work, and it just continues every match. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, you know my theory about Red Shoes Unno is that I think he's a failed actor, like, and then like being a referee is his chance of being a performative artist. Like, oh, yeah. I didn't get to go on to, I didn't get to perform Shakespeare on stage in Tokyo, but I'm going to now do my first Hamlet impersonation in the ring in the middle of some fucking wrestling match. But anyways, from here, Ibushi gets a hold of White on the outside and throws him back into the ring. So now, all right, we're going to get into this match here. White blocks the Golden Triangle attempt and ties Ibushi's leg into the ropes and starts attacking it. So obviously, the strategy for Jay White is to continue working on that leg that he attacked the night before. He ties Ibushi's legs into the guardrails. He rams it into the ring post and apron to inflict further damage. So that's just his tactic. Go after this leg and like do everything like short of just like hitting it with a hammer into really weakening Kota Ibushi. And and it's smart because like most of Kota Ibushi's offense involves kicks or high flying moves, which he needs his legs for.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kota is such an incredible seller and sympathy getter that the more you can make him look so in peril, like the more people are going to get invested in him fighting back.
Yeah, so Ibushi does fight back. He rallies back with a Frankensteiner, a power slam, and a second rope moonsault. And I like the part where he sells his leg before flipping over, which is a nice touch. He's actually selling his leg, which is like let's be honest, it's one of the few times he does sell this leg damage that he's been getting. He goes for a series of standing moonsaults, and White dodges the second attempt, and Ibushi lands on his knees. So again, his legs are damaged. There's a DDT from Jay White, an uppercut in the corner, and then Jay does this kind of leg brace knee breaker, and then he does a twisting suplex body slam combo, but he only gets a 2 on Ibushi. I really like this kind of like he gets the guy up into like a vertical suplex, but then he twists and he lands the guy flat on his back, but it kind of like also looks like kind of a brainbuster, and it's one of the moves that I think he does really well in his matches.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He actually has a really good moveset, and I think we'll get into it later in the match, but he does have a really good, skillful moveset. And I think one of the things, and I know some other people point this out like in his defense, but I think the way he plans out his matches and moves is so intentional, to tell that story. I think pulling stuff like that out of his arsenal is really good.
Well, I mean, like his finisher is the Blade Runner, which is kind of like it's Alex Shelley's Shell Shock move, which I'm sure that's where he got it from. But it's kind of like a kind of version of a DDT style move, right? So like working on the head and neck is something that he does a lot. And the idea of him going after Kota Ibushi's legs is to kind of cut his offense pretty much by 80%, and all the other stuff that he does is designed to weaken the neck and the head of Kota Ibushi so he can set up his Blade Runner. From here, Kota Ibushi fires back with a succession of kicks while on his back. It looks really good. He's really good like fighting from underneath. Jay White tries for a chop block again, but Ibushi jumps into the air, and then as he comes out, he double stomps Jay White right in the ass, and I'm thinking, wow, that's gotta suck. That's gotta legit hurt. I don't see how you can like hold that back.
Yeah, absolutely. You probably couldn't sit down after this.
Kota Ibushi continues with some rapid-fire kicks, but, Jay White hits the complete shot, which he gets, of course, from his mentor and manager, Gedo, and then follows up with a deadlift German suplex. And one thing you got to say about Jay White, like, this man is strong. I mean, he deadlifts someone who, in Kota Ibushi, who's just, like, a massive muscle here, and he does this to, like, a lot of his opponents, and it's impressive every time he does it. Yeah,
he's really strong, and if you... Over that past year, he really bulked up a lot and really improved his strength so much that you kind of only notice if you go back and watch like Wrestle Kingdom 12, like how much he's changed physically.
Yeah, I think if he looks way different than when he was a young lion, and definitely a lot different from when he was in Ring of Honor. I do think he kind of kind of slimmed down, but added more tone to his body rather than just bulk. That's my impression.
Yeah, he definitely I don't want to say trimmed off the fat, but yeah, he basically did. He slimmed down and I think focused more on strength training and diet and stuff. But he has made quite the physical transformation.
So from here, White hits Ibushi with a massive top rope superplex, which further hurts Ibushi's legs along with his back. Ibushi is able to recover and hits his modified tombstone paw driver on White. I forget the name of this, but basically he's just crushing Jay's head and neck into the mat. It looks very painful. Excuse me. They trade forearm shots that Ibushi wins this exchange, but Jay White comes back with a series of his trademark strikes. Like there's a combo sequence that he does, including like a forearm to the face that looks really good. Ibushi tries to come back, but he's caught in the Uranagi, a great version of the Uranagi from Jay White, and then is hit by Jay White's Kiwi Crusher for a 2 count here. And I think at this point we can safely say this is the point where they're ramping things up, Stephanie.
Yeah, this is the point where the match really, really gets exciting. Because I think I think with Jay, sometimes his matches can start pretty slow. And you're waiting for that bit where they really ramp up, and that's where it happened here.
Yeah, definitely. So from here, we see his first attempt at the Blade Runner. Kota Ibushi escapes from that. He tries a knee to the face, but Jay White catches it. White tries for his sleeper suplex, but Ibushi goes behind and hits him with a half and half suplex. Ibushi goes for the lawn dart, but White escapes and rams Ibushi into Red Shoes for our first ref bump of the match. And to be fair, maybe it's the only ref bump of this match, so we didn't see multiple ref bumps. I'm getting a little tongue tied there. But I wrote down that I'm sure Gedo is going to make his reappearance soon from the back, and what do you know? He does, and we'll get to that a little later. But this is a great sequence, between these two, where they're kind of escaping from each other's moves and just, kind of know each other really well. You that whole idea that people, commentators say, oh, they studied hours and hours of tapes of their opponent before they got into this match. It kind of would seem true in the kayfabe world of wrestling here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of Jay's major strengths is how good he is at doing sequences and reversal sequences with his opponents, and this is a particularly good one.
Oh, definitely. And then, we talk about there's a ref bump, then Jay White hits a low blow, and here comes Gedo. And I just wrote down, gee, wonder what this reminds me of in 2020. Someone else involved in Bullet Club now. There's definitely a Bullet Club formula to main event matches if someone is in the main event or the IWGP champion, Stephanie. This is like so much the Evil playbook. This is like where Evil lifts his playbook is from, the Gedo Jay White playbook.
Yeah, who do you think is more of a field actor looking for a performance during a match, Gedo or Red Shoes?
Oh, definitely Red Shoes. Definitely Red Shoes. Like it's embarrassing the way this man performs in the ring and just takes me out of a lot of the matches that he officiates. Gedo, of course, brings out a chair for Jay White to use. White does something to Ibushi, but we don't see it because, the camera operator has to focus on the true star of this match at this point, and that's, of course, Gedo. So I don't know what Jay White did to Kota Ibushi in the ring because the camera was totally focused on Gedo, because he's the booker man and he's the main star right now.
Mm-hmm. This is Geto's main event for sure. Definitely.
Wait, now the star has made his way into the ring with the chair. So of course this is Gedo we're talking about. The crowd is booing this, and I gotta say, I don't think this is kind of the heat you want. I think this is go away heat that the crowd just doesn't want to see this because this is the G1 finals. Okay, this happens in other main events or something like that, even for a match involving the IWGP title. But you know what? And I feel this way because I've been watching this stuff for a long time. I've been a fan of the G1 since the 90s, Stephanie. That's how old I am. I'm not going to say my exact age, but I am of an older fan. And I don't want to see this because this is stuff that doesn't happen in the G1. And this is the first time, all this stuff that, stuff that I don't like in Japanese wrestling. I don't like the creeping in of the American influence into Japanese wrestling, especially in New Japan. And before everyone, yells at me, oh, but WH, they did that in Inoki's time. Oh, they did that in the 90s. They did that in the early 2000s. Yes, and I hated it back then, so shut the fuck up, okay? But anyways, Gedo's in. The crowd is booing this as White assaults Ibushi's leg with Geto's help, and I've just lost it for this match at this point, Steph. Why is this happening?
That's the problem, I think, and I actually do agree because, we were just saying, they had such a good sequence, and then all this shit happens that takes you out of it, and then if you're someone who is actually a supporter / defender of Jay White, this is the bit that then people pick out of the match to sound off about. And I just think if they didn't have that in the match, then maybe everyone could appreciate how good he actually is, because they wouldn't be distracted by this whole Gedo interference that was totally unnecessary in this match.
Well, I think it's also something that's detrimental to Evil. He's reliant on. I mean, in his own moveset, he does a lot of stupid things like using the ref to hold people's legs, or using the magic killer, using the ref as kind of his partner. I hate all those moves because it just makes the ref look stupid. But the chair spots that Evil does, this is all things that detract from the fact that, he's actually a good wrestler. I've seen, the match he had with Okada where he beat Okada in Osaka in a G1 before. And I thought, oh my God, he's come. And cause he wrestled that match as a wrestler, kind of a wrestler with kind of a vicious streak and a mean streak. And that's fine. I like wrestlers like that, but I don't like, relying on foreign objects, relying on doing stuff on the outside, relying on managers helping. And I think, the thing with Jay White that's detrimental to his, his perception, how people perceive him, fans like me, is that he is reliant on the booking of using Gedo to interfere a lot and him using foreign objects and stuff like that. And that goes to what you're saying, of course. It's something if you showed Jay White the wrestler, I think, and if he's a wrestler who talks loudly in his interviews, that's fine. If he's a wrestler who has a mean streak, and here's the thing, I wish they would do cheating correctly where it doesn't make the ref look stupid. You can make yourself look smart without making the ref look stupid as a heel. You know what I mean? But they don't do that. It's all they do is make referees in their company. This includes Marty Asami and Kenta Sato as well. They make all these refs in this company look stupid when they do all this cheating.
Yeah, and Red Shoes is particularly bad. This man, there are matches where he takes basically multiple naps during it because of being knocked out. And it does it does make the referee look stupid, and it does cause the problem of just people kind of wondering like what actually are the rules in New Japan, because you sometimes have to wonder with all the interference they have, and you have to wonder like with Red Shoes, he's gone through this so many times that he should literally see this coming every single time.
Well, he doesn't, anyways. From here, Jay White continues his assault. He does a dragon screw leg whip, and he applies his reverse figure four leg lock. That I forget the name of this move. He named it after Tanahashi because this is how he beat Tanahashi, right?
Yeah, it's the TTO, Tana Tap Out.
Okay, yeah. So he's got the TTO, and this is a great looking move. I do really like this move that Jay White does. But Ibushi won't quit, and I also made a note that Red Shoes has a stupid look on his face when he's asking Ibushi if he's going to quit. And I just like, I gotta say, Stephanie, maybe my hatred of Red Shoes in this match is greater than my hatred of Jay White.
Well, that's actually nice to hear. It's nice to hear that someone surpassed.
Ibushi finally makes it to the rope, so the move is broken. Ibushi is able to hit a Pele kick on White. He follows up finally with a lawn dart on Jay White into the corner, and I pop big for this because I don't want to see anyone get hurt legit in wrestling, but this is a really devastating looking move, and anytime the Switchblade looks like he's devastatingly injured, like in kayfabe terms, then I'm happy about that, Stephanie.
That is such an evil thing to say.
No, I don't want him legit hurt. I just want him kayfabe hurt, where he looks like it really hurt. I'll say this: I'm not a huge fan of this move because I do think it's really dangerous to do, but thankfully Jay White was actually okay. From here, Ibushi hits his second rope apron so. Jay White's on the apron. Kota Ibushi grabs him from the inside the ring. And he's standing on the second rope, and he deadlifts Jay White into the air, and then brings him back into the ring with a German suplex. This move is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it looks so cool. Kota working those back muscles. This guy's the best back in wrestling.
Who's number 2 and 3 then?
For the best back?
Yes.
Well, I would say I think Lacey Evans is a really good back. That's an odd choice, I know. But when I watch Lacey Evans, I think she really works those back muscles. Number 3, best back. Trying to think. I don't think it'd be Jay because I'm not that impressed by his back. I have to get back to you on that one. But Kota's I don't think anyone has a better worked out back than Kota.
All right, well, get back to me on Twitter. Just tag me. These are my top 3 backs in professional wrestling. So we got Jay White, and we got Kota Ibushi and Lacey Evans. We need one more, so you'll get back to me about that on Twitter. So keep everyone on Twitter. Keep an eye out for that tweet to me. White slaps Ibushi hard, but this only serves to awaken Killer Ibushi. One of my favorite things about Kota Ibushi's matches is when he awakens the evil side of himself, the aggressive, pissed off side, and this this makes Jay White do a comically bad frightened act. I gotta say his acting was pretty bad in here as well.
He went to the Red Shoes School of Performing Arts, I heard.
That's right, like the mime act. He took the that part of the workshop with Red Shoes that cost about 1,000 yen an hour, but they all take it because Red Shoes got to make some money to send Shota to the UK. Ibushi unleashes some stiff slaps to the face and body as well as some kicks. This is one of the few parts of the match that I like, Stephanie. Ibushi invites White to slap him, which he does, but Ibushi answers right back and sends White crumbling to the mat. And it's like, okay, Ibushi is on the come up. He's gonna be taking this to the crescendo of the match, and we're gonna get the end of this match, but it's not happening, Stephanie. We still got a ways to go. Ibushi goes for his big lariat, but White catches him with another dragon screw leg whip. He goes for a second one, but Ibushi gets to it and hits a glancing lariat, and then follows up with the last ride powerbomb. And I think we can safely say we're hitting that tidal wave to the closing stretch of the match, Stephanie.
Absolutely. Jay White's got his finishing sequence reversals ready to go.
White barely kicks out at 2.5 from this last ride powerbomb. Ibushi sets up for the Bomaye, which he lists from Shinsuke Nakamura, of course. But White does his crumbling to the mat and playing possum act, and he basically sandbags Ibushi as he tries to get him back up. And I kind of two minds of this part of Jay White's act. Like, I understand why he does it, and I think it's smart, like, tactically in the match itself. But it just, I don't know why. Maybe because it's Jay White. I'm just biased against him. Like, I hate this part of his act as well.
I mean, I quite like it, but at the same time, it can sometimes take me out of the match as well. So I thought it worked here, though.
From here, White distracts the moron that is known as Red Shoes Unno, while Gedo sneaks in with a pair of knuckle dusters. But Ibushi ducks his punch and floors Gedo with a kick to the head, but White hits the sleeper suplex on Ibushi. And again, like, I don't know how many times Red Shoes is made to look stupid by other people and by himself in this match, Stephanie. I've lost count.
It's at least over 10 every match. That poor guy.
From here, Ibushi recovers White right away from the sleeper suplex, and he nails Jay White with a knee to the back of his head. He then hits the Bomaye properly, but it's only for a 2 count. Ibushi tries for the Kamigoye, but White attacks his bad leg. And this is really where this comes into play. Like, all the stuff he did early in the match and the night before is really working in this part of the match, where he's like countering like these like the getting destroyed by Ibushi with his finishers by attacking that leg, because like it's dependent on him having a healthy leg and a knee.
Absolutely, this is where all this great leg work and psychology by Jay pays off to make you Kota can't get it.
I have to admit that this is all really good stuff from Jay White. He hits the Bomaye, but I'm backing my notes here. Ibushi comes back from getting his leg attacked, but with 2 head kicks to Jay White. Wonderful stuff. He goes for the Komegoye, but White hits the Blade Runner, but Jay's too spent to cover Ibushi right away. And the crowd, you can tell the crowd really doesn't want White to win the match, because they think, oh my God, he hit it. And they've really protected this move. The Blade Runner is one of the most protected moves in New Japan. But the thing is like he's been too injured himself. He's been too worn down to cover him right away. So
that was a flashback to his match with Okada at Madison Square Garden. I remember he hit that Blade Runner and then he couldn't make the cover, and I was just there shouting like, "Just move, please!" But yeah.
I was at home watching that live on my TV, and I was just like, don't cover him. Don't cover him. I was like, don't win this match. I don't want you to win this match. But from here, White crosses Ibushi's arms to set up for the implant DDT, but Ibushi nails him with a headbutt to his face. Ibushi hits a straightjacket suplex and maintains wrist control for the Kamigoye again, but White reverses it into another sleeper suplex, and then he hits another one. Then he hits a brainbuster. White picks up Ibushi for the Blade Runner, but Ibushi counters with a knee to Jay White's face. And what's your feeling at this part of the match? Because it's like fast and furious right now.
Yeah, it's getting to that point where I'm like on the edge of my seat. And when Kota hit that knee to the face, I just thought, oh, it's done. I really felt at this point, I had a little bit of hope that he could win before this, but once it got into this like fast section, I thought, no, he's done for.
So the Kamigoye again is reversed into a Blade Runner, but Ibushi escapes that and hits a jumping knee, and then another one, and then he hits like a half Kamigoye and only gets a 2 count. So he like the thing about that is like he only had one of Jay White's wrists in his own hands, and like so it wasn't the full version of the Kamigoye. And I knew that this wasn't going to get a 3 count. But finally, and here we go, Ibushi drops his knee pad, and then he hits the proper Kamigoye for the 1, 2, and 3, and I remember jumping out of my seat thinking, thank God Kota Ibushi won this match and not Jay White. What was your feeling?
My feeling was firstly that it was a really great match, and secondly that Kota deserved to win the G1 as well. So like I was with Okada at Madison Square Garden, I was a realistic fan and I was very happy for Kota, but I was happy for Jay for having a really good match. Sorry. I was going to say, did you listen to the English or Japanese commentary?
So I have a thing because like I've been watching Japanese wrestling since the 90s that I find it odd to watch Japanese wrestling with English commentary. So I don't like, and my Japanese is not that great. I'm not going to say like I understand everything they're saying, but I understand enough of it's what they're saying. And to me, it's more natural to watch it with Japanese commentary. So I know I probably miss a lot of stuff like that Chris talks about in his commentary, and that like Kevin Kelly and whoever, and I guess Gino Gambino talks about with like, you know, like what's happening in the context of this match and stuff like that. But what were they saying during the English commentary, Stephanie?
Well, what I was going to bring up is if you weren't listening to the English commentary, you probably missed Gato when Kota won. Rocky told Gato, I guess, was unconscious on the floor, and Rocky woke him up to tell him that Kota had just won, and Gato shouted, "Bullshit, don't lie to me." So just getting his last little spot in there.
There you go. He's playing up to the English audience with this heel stick manager stuff that he does for all of Jay White's matches here. So the aftermath of this would be, of course, that Kota Ibushi would parlay this win into the double go chase that would result in him challenging Kazuchika Okada on January 4th at the Tokyo Dome this year, and he would come up short in that match because then, of course, Tetsuya Naito defeats Jay White to become the the Intercontinental Champion, and then he would win both titles from Kazuchika Okada and become the double champ until he's defeated by, you know, the new Jay White, Evil, earlier this year. And then, yeah, I don't know, like for me, I gave this out of a 5-star rating. I gave this a 3.5. I think it's one of the weaker G1s in my opinion, due to, you know, the Switchblade heel stick, like that's evident in a lot of his matches. G1, I don't like, just for me, like G1s, they're sacrosanct, you know, like especially the finals. They shouldn't have any of this shit in them. That's just my opinion. And you know, the last thing I see is like, you know, gotta say is that, you know, Harold May presents a trophy and the flag that goes to the G1 winners to Kota Ibushi, and it's a great moment from there. Your final thoughts about this match, Stephanie?
I'd give it a 4-star out of 5. The reason it would lose points is for the interference. But I think that it was a great match, and I think it worked out how I thought it would, with Kota being a great babyface and Jay being a really great heel. But I just could have absolutely lost the interference. And I agree with what you say. I think one of the things that makes me like New Japan so much is that it seems so much more meaningful and serious than what we see in American wrestling. And doing stuff like the interference, especially the G1 final, does dilute that a lot. So that does annoy me. But overall, I did think it was a really great match, and it was the match I wanted, and I'm happy with how it worked out.
So before we get to the trivia part of this episode, Stephanie, I want to ask you, like, so we, you know, as of this writing, like we're gonna, it's not this writing, sorry, we're with my head. As of this recording, we've announced, you know, we've gotten the announcement that New Japan is going to run pretty much a full G1 schedule, and that it's likely they're going to have like, you know, 20 participants, but you know, none of the, you know, blocks are going to mix. So basically all the A block wrestlers are just going to work the A block shows. They're not going to work the B block shows, and vice versa. And what kind of feelings do you have about this upcoming G1 tour?
I think my feeling is more just, it's like kind of worry of how it will go to plan. I think them doing it, like there's a risk. Like we've already seen like a show cancelled today, so there's a risk that it won't go ahead. But I do wonder just how they're going to fill the spots if they don't have the Americans. I think what I really want to see from this G1 with how everything stands is them letting Hiromu in there. I think that's the best way to save the G1 this year if they can't do it how they usually do.
And so I feel like that Hiromu is going to be in there.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, that one of the possible main events they could go with Wrestle Kingdom is Hiromu Takahashi versus Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP title. And I think the easiest way, and this doesn't necessarily mean that this is what New Japan or Gedo are going to do, but the easiest way to get there would be to have Hiromu in the G1 and possibly win the whole thing.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I wanted him to win the New Japan Cup, but then obviously I didn't know the master plan that Gedo had for the New Japan Cup. But I think it'd be incredible if he won the G1, because if this kind of weird time period has shown anything, it's that Hiromu has the potential to be the absolute ace of the company. So I want to see him drop the junior title and just full on move into heavyweight.
So if he does lose the junior title before the G1 starts, then I think it's pretty much a given that we're gonna see Hiromu in the G1 and possibly in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom of 2021. We shall see, though. Let's get to the trivia part. So all of this is from 2019. So Stephanie, let me ask you about some pop culture first. What is the top song in the United Kingdom charts on August 12th at this time last year?
Wow. So as I said earlier about being a goth, like my music taste is very not modern at all. So I have absolutely no idea. Can you give me any kind of clue?
Not really, because I have no idea what the song is or who these artists are. Let's just go ahead and say it's a song called Señorita by Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello, and I have no idea. I've never heard this song, and I don't know who either of these two are.
I know who Camila Cabello is, but I've never heard of that song. And when you said Señorita, I thought you were going to say it was a Justin Bieber song, because I feel like he has a song called that too. So, yeah, safe to say I've never heard that song.
Okay. What is the number one album in the United Kingdom of this week as well?
Right. Any hint there?
It's by an artist that Noel Gallagher of Oasis likes to make fun of.
Oh, it's I can see his face. It's likable Ed Sheeran type lookalike man. Why can I not remember his name? Well,
actually, it is Ed Sheeran.
Oh, is it?
It is.
I thought it was the other guy.
I don't know who the other guy is.
Lewis Capaldi. I thought it was Lewis Capaldi, who also gets made fun of by the Gallaghers. But oh no, I don't like Ed Sheeran at all. He's a very annoying man with an offensive song to Irish people.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. But anyways, it's number 6 collaborations project by Ed Sheeran. That's the number 1 album in the UK charts.
What title?
I'm sorry?
What a title. Number 6 collaborations project?
I have no idea what that means.
Wow. Okay.
Was there a number 1 to 5 collaborations project by Ed Sheeran? I have no idea, and I don't care to know, because like Ed Sheeran is not the type of music that I like either. What is the number 1 movie at the box office at this point in the UK?
Okay. I would say that it's too late for it to be Avengers Endgame. So is it another Marvel movie?
No. So I'll give you a hint. It's a live action version of a very popular animated movie.
Okay. Is it Aladdin?
It's not Aladdin. You're in the same universe.
Lion King?
It is The Lion King. The Lion King is the live action version. Is the number 1 movie at the box office.
Haven't seen it. Sorry.
Well, don't tell that to Davey Portman. He'll get really angry.
Really? Does he like The Lion King?
Oh, he's apparently, like, if you tell him you haven't seen like certain Disney movies, he gets very upset about this.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm an adult, so I haven't seen it.
Okay, please appear on something with Brayden and Davey, and then tell Davey, like, I'm an adult. I haven't seen like these Disney movies. I just so I can hear his response, because I think it'll be very, very amusing to me. But let's move on to the wrestling portion of this trivia. And Stephanie, who is the never open weight singles champion at this time?
Okay, so my memory is very bad. Never open. Shingo?
It's not Shingo. Okay, so the clue is this wrestler, like Shingo Takagi, did not start off in the New Japan system, but he joined later and became pretty much synonymous with modern day New Japan.
Oh my God, I can't think. Sorry, Suzuki.
It's not Suzuki. It's Tomohiro Ishii is the openweight champion.
I did say Ishii after I said Shingo, but I may have said it too quietly. You can check.
Maybe I didn't hear that. Yeah. So okay. So we give it to you. The second time was the charm. So Tomohiro Ishii is the never openweight champion. Back over in America, who is the WWE Raw Women's Champion in August of 2019?
Oh my God. Is it Becky?
It is Becky Lynch. She is. I think she was the longest reigning champ of that title, right?
That would have been. She would have won it that WrestleMania against Charlotte. Yeah.
And she would be it was against Ronda was the champion before that, right? But Charlotte was in that match.
Yeah.
And finally, the end of our trivia here. Who are the NXT Tag Team Champions in August of 2019?
Oh, God. Okay, I may need a couple guesses on this. Street Profits?
You're correct. It is the Street Profits. They are the champions
wow.
at this time.
I was like, who's an NXT Tag Team? Street Profits?
Right. I think they won it in that ladder four-way I think it was at a TakeOver. I can't remember. I can't remember things that happened last month in wrestling, let alone last year. So yeah. I would not have gotten any of these. I can tell you that right away. I applaud that your memory was good enough to make correct guesses with Becky Lynch and the Street Profits, and of course your second attempt with Tomohiro Ishii with the never openweight champion question. But Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I really enjoyed talking with you, especially having that counterpoint to my absolute hatred of Switchblade Jay White. I think it's nice to have, you make great arguments for why you like Jay White, and I think you represent a lot of the fans out there. And I readily admit, I'm probably in a minority. Me and Joe Lemon are probably the minority of people who hate Jay White. I think most people like Jay White. So we are representing the unpopular opinion on this matter. So it's good that you're representing the more popular opinion regarding Jay White.
I was going to ask you, do you know, what is your sense of how the Japanese feel about Jay?
I think they like Jay White because, they like the story of the foreigners who come to Japan to work the dojo system. And I think they really liked him when he was a young lion, and they were excited to come back. I think they like me. They were confused by this character initially. And I think a lot of Japanese fans, especially the ones my age and maybe a little bit younger, are more a fan of the, kind of straight head wrestling without too much interference or anything like that. So they don't really like this character. It's like these are the same fans who don't like the Elite. They don't like Cody Rhodes in New Japan. They don't like the cleaner version of Kenny Omega. They didn't like a lot of the early AJ Styles stuff in New Japan. But I think they feel the same way about Jay White because he represents kind of like that American influence into Japanese wrestling. But I do think there will be a point where, where he'll get more general acceptance. I do think he's popular with younger wrestling fans. I do think he has a great appeal for the female fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's something that New Japan is very good at is kind of marketing, kind of their younger wrestlers who have that kind of this, what we call idol appeal.
Yeah.
To their female fans. And I think Jay kind of fits into that mold as well. So yeah, for me, not really a big fan, but for younger fans and male and female, I think he's very popular with them because they're kind of used to this kind of new style of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Well, I hope talking to me, you maybe like him even like 0.5% more than you did an hour and a half ago.
I will plead the fifth on that in answering that question. So, Steph, like I do have a lot of respect for a lot of your opinions, including your opinions about Jay White. But I don't know if it's going to change my mind. But if people want to get more examples of your work, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter at Stephanie M. Chase and on YouTube, Stephanie Chase Wrestling, and then on our WWE section and on Digital Spy, that's where a lot of my interviews go up, and on Sports Kita as well, where I do some Instagram live chats and stuff with them over on their Instagram page.
And just, you got some really cool stuff recently as of this recording. You just did an interview with Bronson Reed of NXT. And and I'm excited to see, like, I think between you and Post Wrestling's Andrew Thompson, like, there's just some great interviews being done with professional wrestlers that, like, maybe we don't see too much exposure to from, like, I'm not going to say bigger outlets, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of like, it's good to see, like, you and people like Andrew, like, doing these interviews that kind of bring a different perspective to questions and the such.
Yeah, Andrew does absolutely amazing work as well. I enjoy his interviews, and he's definitely someone to follow as well.
Yeah. So on behalf of all the listeners, thank you again, and I hope to do something with you again on a podcast in the future. We'll talk about that maybe off air. But yeah, and I'm really excited for this to get up, and thank you so much. And on behalf of you, I want to thank all listeners for listening. I hope people missed Cruel Summer, and I hope that you look forward to next year's episode where we're going to talk about the 2020 G1 Finals that are hopefully will happen this fall. And until then, I'll say goodbye.